everybody, what's up? This is Jack with SGTV. Today's video is going to be another installment in the series Get Good, ESO for beginners. The next few videos in this series are going to be covering the different roles that players can have in group content. I'm going to start with tanking because I think tanking is misunderstood, just from personal experience playing the game, followed up by healing, which may actually be explained by Spy because he does it more so than I do. I actually don't have a healer build together yet. And then we'll follow up with DPS. DPS is going to be last because everybody and their mother playing this game wants to play DPS, and I don't. There's good reason to discuss it because I don't think it's looked at a certain way, and I don't think it's looked at the right way. But anyhow, so we'll go ahead and get into it. This is going to be a basic tanking guide, sort of. I guess you could call it a guide. Alright, so in Elder Scrolls Online, tanking is fundamentally different. It's not about holding everything, it's about holding the dangerous things that can one-shot your DPS, and can one-shot your healer, unless of course you have decided to go with the healer build that was put out on the channel yesterday. So it's not about, you see all these enemies in front of me, I don't have to grab all of these. I don't have to taunt them all. I just need to taunt the things throughout the dungeon, and I'm not in a group currently, as you can see, but I don't need to taunt every enemy that I see. There are ways to go about doing that through gear setups, monster helmets, stuff like that. There are different ways to go about pulling and whatnot. But so before I run up to this group of enemies, there are different levels of tanking, like skill levels, and then there are different styles of tanking is what I'm going to call it. Now, we're on my main tank, who is an Imperial Dragonite. We're not going to talk about the sets that I'm wearing or any of the CP slottables. We're going to pretend that you have a brand new character, you don't have any of that stuff yet. What is a good route to take, and what is a good baseline understanding of what your job is. So, as a tank, you're the rock in the dungeon that gets beat on, okay, by the big stuff. Now, your best friend and easiest taunt to get is going to come from the one-handed shield weapon skill line. It is Pierce Armor, or rather, this is the morph. The other morph is Ransack. This one is the one that you want to take because it inflicts minor breach and major breach on the enemy, which reduces spell resistance and physical resistance by a grand total of about 9,000 for 15 seconds. This is not a ranged taunt. There are more than one ranged taunts. In the Destruction Staff skill line, Destructive Touch, one of the morphs of it being used with an Ice Staff taunts, and then also in the Undaunted Guild skill line, you have Inner Fire, which you would morph to Inner Rage. I guess you could take the other morph. Inner Rage is a Magicka costing ability. The other morph, I believe, costs stamina and inflicts minor maim, maybe. I don't use it often enough to speak to it, so, but Inner Rage always gives the synergy, the Radiate synergy, which deals magic damage over 3 seconds and an additional 4,300 magic damage to them and other nearby enemies. So, as a tank, you want to, I think, alright, so the best way to say this is tanks and healers are support roles. Everyone wants to, everybody playing a DPS role is, I think they look at it like they're the hero, but like we're in a vet dungeon right now currently, so I'm in vet, temp is silent. Most DPS cannot just run through this without dying probably a number of times, whereas the tank that you see on the screen right now can survive veteran hard mode, March of Sacrifices, the final boss fight with Balor. So everybody has a part to play. The tank's part is take the damage that's gonna hurt the most and keep it on you. Now, whenever, let's see here. So when I'm speaking to styles of tanking, I'll go ahead and explain the style that I have. Mine is group support. I want to keep the group alive, right? I also want to stay alive myself, but I want to keep the group alive. So I have this helps me stay alive. That's a group shield. This is a group shield. It comes with a synergy, so somebody does have to pop it. That's 24,000 extra health. Is a way that you can look at it. It's a 25. What was it? Let me pop both of these again. All right, so it's 24.7 thousand damage shield that you can virtually keep running basically forever. And then the other function is sticking with the pointy end, right? See, now you can run up, taunt all of these. Now, these are ranged in some capacity, so this is one of the things that people struggle with, or at least the concept anyhow, is range manipulation. So the best way that I know to explain it is this. Let's interrupt that. All right. So there are two ways that you can deal with range manipulation. You can taunt the melee ranged enemies and then move over, and it'll stack because they will follow you. There is no threat system. There is nothing but hard taunt that sticks. There is such a thing as soft taunt in this game. The soft taunt simply means you got there first and got their attention first. But the minute that somebody taunts them, taunts the enemies, they will no longer be on you. So you also have a range taunt, which really the purpose of this is I can stand back here and taunt that enemy, and now they will move over to me, or at least within the range that they need to be to attack me, right? Let's see here. All right, so the other way, or the easiest way to deal with range manipulation is by pulling them and then just locking them down where you're standing, right? Pull them in, lock them down, and then just let the DPS burn. You don't have, again, you do not have to taunt every enemy. I'm doing it because I'm the only one in here. And then I think that's as far as like tanking tactics for beginners, that's essentially it. It's grab the big stuff that's gonna hurt the squishier members of the party, which is, you know, it just is what it is. And then you can manipulate the ads in such a way that whenever you have an encounter, like I'll demonstrate here, whenever you have an encounter, you can pull them all in, lock them down, interrupt them, just group them up, let the DPS put them all in one spot, because most DPS are going to drop a whole lot of AoE damage. And when they do that, see, now all the enemies are grouped up, so it makes it easier to hit more than one target. And you can immobilize them, you can interrupt. Most pull abilities do interrupt anything that's casting. So from a beginner's perspective on what to do as a tank, that's the best explanation in the most simple terms that I can put it. Just, oh great, it's following me. That's cool. Alright, let's kill it. If I can. Tanks are not built to do damage. You do not build as a tank, you do not build to do damage. I'm probably gonna have to leave here in order to get out of this. Anyhow, I am gonna go over some basic sets that you can use as you know, in the beginning of your, if you decide you want to tank, some good recommendations for use as a tank. Let's see if it'll let me leave. It's not going to let me leave because I'm in combat. That's great. Alright. Let's see if I can run over here and get away from it. Nope. Alright, so I may have to cut the video here and get out of it, figure out a way to get out of this dungeon, or at least out of combat. Okay. Alright, we're back. I'm out of the dungeon, out of combat, so, okay. Alright. Now, like I said, we're not going to discuss this, my tank build in particular, so much so as we are going to discuss the baseline, like, requirements that tanks should have. So, because you may have your own build, like I am going to put out a build video on this tank, but you may have your own build that you're comfortable with. And not every tank build fits how this tank is built. So, alright. As far as attributes go, you want to have like 40,000 health as a tank. I do realize that I have 46,000 here. I generally run more difficult content when I am tanking on this particular character, so I have a little bit of an extra buffer, and I still have enough everything else to get stuff done. I know that it doesn't look like it's, you know, 17,000 magicka, 16,000 stamina, but I'm not, so the stamina pool is so low because I'm not a permanent block tank, and magicka recovery is real high to offset the low magicka pool. That way I can continue to use chains as needed and talons as needed, and Spy is standing behind me in the video currently. Anyhow, so the stats that you want to focus on, all tank builds, the stats that you want to focus on the most are health. You want to have at least, I'm going to say at least 40,000 health. And you want to be, you don't have to be at armor cap, but you want to be close to it. And that's because when you block, like, you want to have a good amount of block mitigation. So, let's see here. Collections, set items. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to discuss beginner sets. Okay, because this is a beginner video, so if you're watching this and you're like, oh, that's a selfish tank, yeah, it is, because at the beginning, like when you're first really getting into it, you have to keep yourself alive in order to keep everyone else alive. So, dead tank, dead party. Anyhow, so one good set that you can start with, and is an overland set, is Plague Doctor. Now this will help you out as far as reaching the health pull threshold. It is 3 bonuses of 1,093 max health and 1 bonus of 2,543 max health. So that's a good health set, and you can combine it with something that has armor on it, such as, let's see here, Mark of the Pariah is a good one, because it doesn't, now this is assuming you have DLC zones. Mark of the Pariah is another 1,093 max health. It adds, you get 2 bonuses of 1,349 armor, and then your physical and spell resistance increases up to 9,300 basically, based on the amount of health that you're missing. So you get more armor the more damage that you have taken, to offset the fact that you are taking damage. Mark of the Pariah, Plague Doctor, those are a good place to start. Some basic, and these are overland sets. Hey, let's see here. Ebon Armory is a good one. It is a dungeon set. It is Crypt of Hearts. Ebon Armory is 1136 max health, 1136 max health, 4% healing taken. To help boost that incoming, more than likely radiant healing, because healers probably, I would say, need to spend most of their time focusing on keeping the DPS alive. If the tank is built correctly, that is what they'll be doing. Anyhow, but you'll boost that radiant healing coming in, that should be coming in, by 4%, and then you also increase your max health by 942 for you and up to 11 other group members. Now, this is obviously 11 other group members. This is meant for trial group size groups. It works real well in dungeons still, because it gives everyone in the group roughly 1,000 more health. And also can replace, this could be put in place of Plague Doctor, because you can still get max health bonuses, you get healing and taken bonus, and then you get another max health bonus that's actually not just for you, but everyone in the group. And it will have it will actually, this set will put an animation around you that is like red floating orbs. There are crafted sets that are good for tanking. Let's see if I can find them. I do not remember. Let's see here. If it is, if they're even listed in here. All right. Well, so off the top of my head, Fortified Brass is a good crafted set. It's a decent amount. It's a really decent amount of armor bonus, which is both spell. When you hear armor, it is both physical and spell resistance. So if you get an armor bonus, you get that number applied to your spell resistance, and that number also applies to your physical resistance individually. It's just described as armor to kind of, I guess, group together, instead of saying some long description of this much spell resistance, this much physical resistance. So you obviously want to wear, or maybe it's not obvious, maybe I should stop saying that in a beginner video. Alright, you want to lean real heavy into heavy armor, no pun intended, and you want to go down through here and get all of these passives. You want resolve for physical and spell resistance bonus for each piece of heavy armor equipped. I currently have a bonus of 2,000. Constitution increases health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor. My current bonus is 24%. You restore 108 magicka and stamina whenever you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. Now these passives are all maxed out because, as you can see, I'm level 50 in heavy armor. Anyway, 108 magicka stamina for each piece of heavy armor equipped. Every time you take damage, the effect can occur once every 4 seconds. So every 4 seconds when I get hit by something, I get 649 magicka and 649 stamina back. Juggernaut increases max health by 2% for each piece of heavy armor equipped. I have 6 pieces on right now, so I have 12% bonus to my max health. I don't actually have this build lined out. That's the other reason there's not a guide just yet, because the traits and some other things are not perfectly right, so or at least not the way that I want them. The next passive in the heavy armor line is Revitalize. Increases the magicka and stamina, magicka or stamina, magicka or stamina. Your heavy attacks restored by 4% for each piece of heavy armor worn. I currently have a bonus of 24% because of the 6 pieces. If you're a magicka based tank who is, you're rocking an ice staff, that's how you're taunting and things like that, that would be where your magicka return comes back. Your stamina return is going to come back from sword and shield here, or if you have something else going on. I've seen effective tanks that run two-handers, stuff like that. But without like getting like starting to like stretch your brain out and be like, all right, what works and what doesn't? Okay, look, sword and shield works. Let's stick with that. Or ice staff, that works real well. Let's do that. And then Rapid Mending increases healing received by 1% for each piece of heavy armor worn. I have 6, so my current bonus is 6. Another thing you're going to want to do as a tank to get the most out of what you're doing, and this sounds counterintuitive because I just finished talking about heavy armor. You want to pick up 1 piece of light armor and 1 piece of medium armor. And the reason that I suggest that is because of the Undaunted skill line passive, Undaunted Metal. Increase max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor that you have equipped. And then it lists it heavy, medium, light. So you get 2% for heavy, 2% for medium, 2% for light. To get the most out of this, you need 1 of each piece at least. Currently, I am only wearing medium and heavy, so I currently only have a 4% bonus. You can wait on this to like branch out into putting a piece of light armor on your tank if you're not real comfortable yet. I would definitely suggest at least getting 1 piece of medium in a small slot. The small slots, what's considered a small slot and a big slot. So the big slots are your helmet, your chest piece, and your legs. The smaller slots are your shoulders, your hands, your waist, and your feet. So once you get further along in the game and you have a monster set and things like that, then it's like right now I'm running the Mighty Chuden monster set. One of these 2 pieces can be medium. I have the helmet medium right now because I recrafted it backwards, but that is, again, why we're not exactly talking about this particular build, although it does real well. So, and as you can see, 2400 spell damage, 2400 weapon damage, real low crit chance, 12%, 1600 penetration, which is I don't even know, that might likely be more than most tanks have. I'm sure I just picked it up passively somewhere, because I do have 1300 champion points. But this block of stats in here is not your main concern. As a tank, your main concern is this number, maintaining either magic or stamina, which means recovery stats, not the entire pool. It's much more important to have magic recovery or stamina recovery, whichever one you rely on the heaviest to utilize your abilities to the fullest extent. And then you want to worry about this down here: spell resistance, physical resistance. Now if we go into advanced stats, let's see here, where's that? Okay, so at 30,700 I have 46.6% resistance to all those types of damage. So resistance cap, as you can see in the tooltip here, which I actually hadn't paid attention to before, but resistance cap is 50%, which is a 33,000 armor rating in either spell or physical resistance. Block mitigation is also something that you want to work towards. Most of block mitigation improvement comes from champion points. So over time, this number will go up for you, but block mitigation is highly important as a tank. You don't want to need to be a perma block tank, that's my opinion. You want to be able to like move and do stuff, as opposed to like poking the boss and then standing there holding block, because you're not real helpful if you can't move. So that's my opinion, but we'll get there whenever I'll put out more advanced tanking guides as we go along here. But those are the stats and the attributes that you want to worry about the most, or put the most focus on. As you can see, there's not really like, I have a 2% healing done that came out of CP passives. Healing taken, 8% received. So, you'll pick that stuff up along the way. Another thing that you do want to work towards as a tank is getting your block cost down, because although you don't want to have to be a perma block tank, which is a way of saying a tank that is holding the block button the entire time they're standing in front of the boss, you don't want it to be real expensive when you do have to block, because every time you block, it deducts that number from whatever respective pull. If you're blocking with an ice staff, there's a passive that'll cause you to block with magicka. Otherwise it normally excuse me, otherwise it would normally cost stamina to block. So the further down you can bring that cost, the better off you are. With a max stamina of 16,000, I can block like 15 times. Like if I had no stamina recovery, no stamina coming back in, I could block 15 times. The next time I block, I do not have enough. So I'm going to take the full brunt of the hit. So that's why block cost, block mitigation, recoveries, things like that are important. Let's see here. So even though we're not going to exactly speak to the gear, just ignore the traits and stuff because I do not have it worked out. But as a tank, the general setup that you want to get the most out of your gear and the different types that you're wearing and the enchants that you have on it, stuff like that. So in your big slots, you either want a health or like if you're having trouble getting up to 40,000 health, you can put a straight up health enchantment, or you can put the I believe it's called Prismatic Defense. You get health, magicka, and stamina. The reason you would put them in the large slots is because the large slots give you the full amount of the enchantment. I do believe, let's see here, health enchant, health enchant, health enchant, health enchant. Okay. Alright, so I have all health enchantments, which means I could actually take some of my attribute points and reallocate them somewhere else. As far as the rings, like your jewelry goes, I have an infused piece with magicka recovery on it for 255 magicka recovery, and I actually have magicka recovery enchantments on both the rings as well. They are both healthy to increase the health pool. You want to kind of like, there's a lot of like meta is a terrible thing because there's not really a one size fits all to the approach that you're taking. So if you want to be able to stand and be this like unkillable like god in combat who can just hold whatever boss, there is not just one single way to get there. You want to use your enchantments, your armor traits, your sets, things like that. You know, you look at the passives of the race and the class that you took. Look at all those things and shift around accordingly to get because there's not exactly one way to get there, but there are a couple of minimum requirements. One of the requirements is you need a big health pool. You're going to take some big hits. So just go ahead and get comfortable with having 40,000 health. Like, it means that you're not going to have a whole lot of anything else, but you can offset that. And then one more thing on the speaking to gear. One more thing is if you are running sword and shield, I recommend, especially on both bars, I would recommend at least one of the two have a crusher enchantment, because the way that, or at least the way that I look at it from an older gaming perspective, is if you're the one that's going to be holding the big enemy, you want to make it easy for everyone else to kill it. A crusher enchant strips armor. We can dive into my gear at this point, I guess. So I have a crusher enchant. That's 1,000 armor stripped. I have Crimson Oath's Rive that I'm wearing. It strips another 3,400 armor to anything within 12 meters of me for 15 seconds. The effect can occur every 12 seconds, and it happens when I cast an ability, drink a potion, or use a poison that applies a major or minor buff to myself or an ally. So I've stripped 3,500 armor for drinking a potion. And it can just be like the tri-crown potions that you get for logging in every day. So that's a real easy way to strip armor. So now we're up to 4,500 armor stripped. We talked about the one-handed shield. There it is, pierce armor. That's another 9,000 armor stripped away. You have now basically stripped away all armor that the enemy has, because 18,200 maybe is what bosses have, or I'm trying to remember how that is now. There's a armor rating for veteran, and there's an armor rating for normal, and there's actually a different way that they go about calculating maelstrom and stuff like that, but you're in there alone, so you really don't need to worry about it as much, not in this way. But 9,000 plus 3,500 plus another 1,000 you've stripped away 13,000 armor. At that point, you know, the enemy has nearly no armor. So you can look at it that way, like you can look at it like your job is to hold the big thing, take all the damage, and make it real easy for everyone else to kill it. That's one approach. That's the approach that I took with this tank. There are other like approaches to tanking that there are hybrid tanks that work very well. They're very tanky builds they're really hard to kill, so they don't die in content very often, but they're a hybrid because they're also capable of dealing a decent amount of damage. Now, if you're a tank, you're more than likely going to be doing like 3,000 to 5,000 DPS, and that's about it. The hybrid builds, you know, they do more. I had one set up on this at one point. I didn't like how it played, so I didn't keep it. But you know, it's just an example of the different approaches that you can take to fulfill your role in the group. This particular one has a damage shield, 2 damage shields specifically, that are abilities for the group. And then on my back bar ultimate is Magma Shell, which is a 100% of your allies' health damage shield for 12 seconds. So, and then on yourself, as the tank who used it, as the character who used the ability, you limit incoming damage to 3% of your max health, and you deal flame damage back to nearby enemies each second for 12 seconds. So this is kind of like, okay, shit has gone bad here. I'm going to pop this, I'm going to walk around, maybe I need to res people, maybe I need to do whatever. At this point, I don't have to block, I can do whatever I need to do, because 3% damage incoming is all I'm going to get of my own max health. On the front bar, like I talked about, making it easier for your party to kill things, Aggressive Warhorn for the major force buff to all the allies, which increases critical damage by 20% for 10 seconds. It also adds 10% max magicka and max stamina for 30 seconds. So each of the abilities that I have on my bar is very purposeful in fulfilling the role that I see that a tank should be fulfilling, which is keeping the party alive and making it easy for them to kill things, and being able to sustain insane amounts of damage if needs be for some period of time, like longer than a couple of seconds. You want to be able to get hit several times, because you're going to get hit several times. And I think from a beginner's take, I think we've pretty much, or I've pretty much discussed what you need to worry about as a beginner tank. It's, no, you're not going to run into the dungeon and do the most damage. You're not going to do that. But what you are going to do is you're going to have the satisfaction of knowing, look, I held the thing, I held the big bad thing that hits real hard and kills shit. I held it, it hit me, I didn't die, it's cool, the group lived on, now the group can kill it. Every role in the group has a purpose. Your purpose is to not let everyone else die. It's really irritating to go into a random or even pre-built sometimes. I've been in groups where the tank is just real squishy, and when the tank's down, it's a bad thing. It's very likely that you're going to wipe. But to get, I got off on a rant there for a minute, because there's so much poor approach to things, which is the point of this series, actually, to give a good perspective on how to look at things and how to approach things, and what actually does work in practice. Anyhow, to get back, the one other, I'll say the golden rule of tanking for resource management is when you get hit with a heavy attack as the tank, right after you block it, heavy attack back. So heavy after a heavy, right? That way you have managed to keep your stamina up. The thing just hit you. You probably blocked it. Hopefully you blocked it. It depleted some stamina. Time to return it. So you got heavy attacks. Heavy attack it back, and then go about your day. But every time it happens, heavy after a heavy. That way you have ongoing, at least stamina resource management. Now, if you're ice staff tanking, which is also like, I fully intend on building a tank that is built in that way. I just haven't had time as much to develop that character and get all the gear and stuff that I need for it. But when I do, you'll see it on the channel. If you're heavy attack, or if you're magicka tanking, which would be like if you're ice staff tanking, heavy after a heavy, because now blocking costs magicka. If you took that passive, blocking costed you magicka. So blocked it, it depleted some magicka, heavy attack back to bring your magicka back up. I think so I don't information overload, I think that's going to be it for the video. I still have shenanigans going on here. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the videos, please like and share it. If you take a look around the channel, if you like what you see on the channel, we try to put out a mixture of information about Elder Scrolls Online. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon that way you get notified every time we put out a video. We were kind of crunched a little bit this week, but you have my birthday this week, you have Mrs. Jack's birthday this week, but we usually put out 3 to 4 videos a week. And one last thing before I go, we do have 2 ways that you can go about supporting the channel, if you see fit. The first way is we've partnered and now are offering, we have Spy Pie Gaming t-shirts available for purchase. I will make sure that I link that up in the top corner of the video, and also put the link in the description down below. And then the other way is down below all of our videos, there is a button that says thanks, and it's shaped like a heart. You can click on it. It gives you the option to donate a few dollars. Every little bit counts. We don't care if it's $1, or if you bought a t-shirt, or if you just subscribe to the channel. We enjoy doing this. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you guys. I say we, because Spy's standing next to me right now doing some weird stuff because he's real weird.
Hey Jack, how you doing?
Anyhow, see you guys in the next one.